Have you ever scrolled down an humanitarian page or an NGO page, and then you see all of the impacts that have been done? You see the smiles, you see the rescue, you even see their numbers neatly put on the page, the impact reached, and all of those things. And you'll be like, oh, wow, this was great. Yes, it actually happened. But then nobody talks about the efforts that goes behind the scene, the process. In fact, some of these rescues, the dangers that some of these humanitarians face while doing this. And somebody would even ask you, how was the project you did today? I know you just have to say that it was good. Welcome back to another episode of the Safe Space podcast, a space where we have honest conversations that challenge our thinking, protect our communities, and empower us to make safer choices. My name is Ibukonlua Adio, and I am your host for today. Today, it's just me, and I want to talk about something that is not always talked about enough. What nobody tells you about humanitarian work. Let's start with the part nobody prepares you for, the emotional weight of this work. You sit with someone, you listen to their story, you try to help in whatever way you can, and then the day ends and you go home. But their story doesn't end with the day, it stays with you. It might even show up when you're trying to sleep or weeks later out of nowhere while you're trying to do something completely unrelated. Nobody talks about carrying pieces of other people's pain around with you long after you've clocked out, long after you're done with the project, long after you've compiled your report. And it isn't just a feeling, it is something researchers actually call compassion fatigue. And studies show that humanitarians, aid workers have emotional, mental, and physical wear down that builds up it builds up from repeatedly witnessing other people suffering and can eventually erode a worker's physical, psychological, and even spiritual well-being if it's not addressed. Then there is burnout. Let's relate. I don't mean the kind of burnout where you're just a little tired or you just want to take a weekend off. I mean the kind where you start to dislike what you love doing, or you don't even want to do it, where you're present at a program but mentally you've checked out a while ago. These things, they creep in slowly, and then one more yes when you should have said not this time, until one day you look up and then you don't recognize how empty you feel inside of you. And research has shown that humanitarian workers have found burnout rates that, depending on the context, can affect anywhere from under 10% to nearly a third of the people doing this work, alongside high rate of psychological distress, anxiety, and depression. So if you've ever felt this way and thought something was wrong with you, it isn't. It's just that nobody warned you that this was part of the job. And this is actually why we are talking about it. And then can we talk about the resource part? This is mainly even for founders, managers, program managers, leaders that have different impacts what they want to do. You will see that this is exactly what needs to be done, because almost every community has a problem. And then you know that this is the solution, but you don't have the funding, the material, or the manpower to actually do it. So you improvise. Only you programs manager, only you facilitator, only you monitoring and evaluation officer. You stretch the little that you have, and somehow you are still expected to deliver the same results as if you've had everything you needed. That gap between what you can see and what you can actually do is exhausting in a way that it is hard to explain to somebody outside of this work. For some of us, there's also physical risk. And I want to be honest with you about how real this has become globally. Just this year, on World Humanitarian Day, the UN reported that hundreds of AIDS workers were killed last year, with 100 more injured or abducted, or disturbingly, most of the people affected are local staffs, the ones serving their own communities, not international workers flying in and out, with more than half of last year's deaths concentrated in just 2 crisis zones. Most of us reading this won't even be in a conflict zone, but we can be at a smaller local level, going into unfamiliar communities and unpredictable solutions. And there's a level of risk we quietly accept and rarely name out loud. There are a lot of missionaries that travel to other states. There are a lot of NGOs that send out their workers to other states, to undeveloped states, that's underserved communities. And they already accept the risk of what they want to go and do. I mean, we laugh it off, we take it, or in fact, we don't even consider it. But then again, we tell the story later. And then in the moment, it is scary, it is real, and it actually deserves to be acknowledged as what it is. And underneath all of this is the quiet exhaustion of constantly pouring out into beneficiaries, into programs, into communities, without anyone regularly checking on you to ask if you're okay too. I'll use myself as an example. At some point in my life, I decided that I wasn't going to do impact work again because I just felt like I was pouring out. My focus was secondary school student. And I know that immediately after I speak with this secondary school student, when I am done, I will ask myself, nobody spoke to me like this too. Or I would say, where is even all of these things I'm saying? Where the reservoir at which I'm bringing this out? I'm not feeling it back. What about my own life path? Is it going according to the way I have planned? And then at the end of the day, I started to resent. I started to dread doing what I love to do. So you see that all of these things is part of what we face as humanitarians or as aid workers. So if you're doing this work, whether it is full time, volunteer, or something in between, I want you to hear this clearly. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to admit that some days are heavy. It's okay to ask for support instead of always being the one giving. None of that makes you feel less or none of that can make you less committed to your work. If anything, it makes you human. And this work needs humans, not machines. That is it for today's episode of the Safe Space podcast. If this resonated with you and aligned with you, I would love to hear from you. Share this to someone who needs it. What do I want to hear from you? I want you to also share with me your experiences as an humanitarian worker that is not captured in your reports, in the pictures that you post, in the videos that you post, and all of that. And let us keep having this honest conversation. My name is Ibukunlua. Until next time, take care of yourself too.